After watching the sizzle reel and Season 1 recap for Matt Stryker, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that Season 2 is going to be incredible. But even though we really don't know what's coming up, let's take a moment and think about what rivalries we could see down the road for these guys. So let's talk about some rivalries that I think we may possibly see in Season 2, or that I would like to see in general, even if I don't think it's possible. Some fantasy booking. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the women of Lucha Underground. And I've said this time and time again, the way the women are written in last season's storylines is the women of Lucha Underground are very strong, or strong-willed, or they're a powerful character. It's something Robert Rodriguez has shown in a lot of his films. Looks like we have another guest. You gonna come up here? Okay, come on. This is becoming a habit. Say hi. I don't plan this. They just know when I'm doing this. It's kind of funny. Gonna say hi? He's gonna sit here? Okay. This is Whiskey. He's big and fluffy, aren't you? Yes, you are. Okay, back to the video. The women of Lucha Underground. The first one I want to talk about is you're killing me, cat. The first one I'm going to talk about is Katrina. One of the things that was shown was either on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, whatever it was shown that Katrina is now taking over the temple, and her name is like on the door of the office. So that right there speaks volumes about what women are going to do in this season. I think as far as rivalries goes, I think that is going to be one of the biggest rivalries of this season, is Katrina versus, say, Dario Cueto, honestly. And I don't mean that the two are going to be in a match. It's just going to be a rivalry of power to control the temple. When this last season ended, everyone fled the temple, including Dario. And he left with Melissa. No, what was her name? Not Melissa Santos. That's the ring announcer. Excuse me. Black Lotus. He left with Black Lotus right after she killed her trainer. And so are we going to see Black Lotus versus Katrina, or are we going to see some match where Katrina has Mil Muertes fight someone from that Dario Cueto picks, maybe we'll see Mil Muertes versus Cueto's brother, the one who was locked up. And I'm trying to remember who that's supposed to be. I think that's Matanza. And we really haven't seen him yet. From what I can tell, I'm thinking back to when I did the review for. Are you cozy, cat? Oh my god, it's laying down here. Okay. One thing we did not really see yet is, yes, I'm right here. For crying out loud! Don't yank my cords. We did not really get the reveal of Matanza at the end of the season, like I think a lot of fans wanted to. We saw like the eyes through the cage, and we saw him kill, was it Bale, whatever it was. So, that is going to be one of the biggest rivalries, I think, of season 2. It's one of the focal points, is Dario Cueto versus Katrina for the power over the temple. Somehow, some way. Another one is, one thing we saw in the trailer is, this cat is so goofy, Sexy Star. The year at are you leaving? Okay, you're leaving. My goodness. Goofy cat. At the end of this last year's season, we saw her tied up somewhere with what the hell's his name? Oh, Marty the Moth had her kidnapped. In the season 2 trailer, we see her escaping. She's terrified. She's running away, wherever she is, and so obviously she's going to have a rivalry with his sister. He's going to get her back for embarrassing him this last season. And we've heard some rumors about who is going to play his sister. I've heard someone like, oh god, I can't think of her name. We talked about it on some video recently, podcast. But nonetheless, that's going to be another new face we're going to see as far as women. And another one who I think is going to make a significant difference this season is Ivelisse, and her part of her team to get the Trios Championship back. She's healthy. She's 100%. She's going to kick ass. She wants that gold back. So, whether it's her fighting another female, or her and her team fighting another team in general to get that gold back, you're going to see that. It's going to be another focal point. I can't wait to see her in the ring again. And we're going to see a lot of other new faces as far as women wrestlers in Lucha Underground. Are we going to maybe see a women's title? Maybe, that's something that could be introduced this season. I think that'd be great. There's certainly going to be enough women wrestlers in this brand to make that possible, to make it stand. You're not just going to see a couple here and there, and there were a lot of women in this last season, but not all of them performed in the ring. I think that's where this season's going to be different. You're going to see a lot more in the ring, alongside Ivelisse and Sexy Star. So that's it for the women wrestlers. What other rivalries do we want to see? Well, there are some other significant new faces in Lucha Underground. We're going to see PJ Black, Darewolf, great guy, great performer. In the trailer, we see him alongside Jack Evans attacking Drago. Now, I have no doubt that's going to be something in season 2. Could PJ Black, Jack Evans, and someone else maybe go for the Trios Championships? That'd be incredible. Don't know who they'd get. Could be anyone. There's quite the number of people they could pick. Anybody who's a heel, I guess. Say PJ Black versus, if he has a match against Drago, I think that'd be great. I'd love to see PJ Black versus, let's say, Johnny Mundo. And I did a little research on YouTube, just trying to see if certain guys have faced each other in the past in the WWE. I don't think those two have ever faced each other. If they have, I haven't seen it. I don't think they've ever crossed paths. I know when PJ Black was Justin Gabriel in the Nexus, I know they attacked John Morrison, but I don't think they ever really had a featured match. Now, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I don't think they have. So that's one I'd love to see. Another new face we might see. Now, this isn't confirmed, okay? And I haven't heard any rumors. I just noticed this the other day when I was just looking at Instagram. I've noticed that MVP has been hanging around the temple an awful lot recently. Now, I have not noticed him in any of the trailers, but, and maybe he's just there hanging out, visiting friends, or whatever. I don't know. I have no clue what he's doing there. I haven't heard any. This is all just speculation, okay? It's kicking the hornet's nest, and they have lost some significant faces, like Alberto El Patron. Alberto Del Rio went back to the WWE. I would have loved to seen him stay with Lucha Underground, but obviously, that's not what we got. His rivalry this last year with Johnny Mundo is one of the best, in my opinion. That was great. That was a classic. So they gotta fill some shoes with him being gone now. So I can see them bringing in a big name like MVP, especially now that he's gone from TNA, and that he was pretty frustrated about that. He had a good team going there in TNA, and then one by one things started going wrong, and finally, all the footage with him and, was it Hernandez? When Hernandez was with his team, all that footage had to be scrapped. So, MVP was pretty much, he had it up to here with TNA then, and I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back with him leaving then. There might have been some other things, but I know that was one thing that was in the news that was significant. So MVP, if he is part of Lucha Underground, you know, he's a great talker and he has a great character. I don't know. I mean, if he has matches, that's fine. But I can picture him showing up and being some, like, Hollywood tycoon kind of guy, you know, and, you know, trying to maybe take over the Lucha Underground. Something I could see him doing something like that, you know. Being a man of financial influence, something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. Who would I like to see him in a match with? Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say someone like yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a match with you know, PJ Black or one of the guys from you know, Pentagon Jr. I could see those two tearing it up. I think that'd be pretty cool. Something else, you know, in the trailer, speaking of Pentagon Jr., we'll segue into that. We noticed that in the trailer there's these little glimpses of Pentagon Jr., except there's several, like in a dark room, and then a flash goes off and you see a ton of them. And I noticed that recently, and I didn't notice that. I don't think I noticed that the first couple times I watched the trailer, and I've watched it several times now, you know, looking for stuff, you know, little things here and there. And I might be really reaching here, but I heard little things that Lucha Underground is going to go with a more of a sci-fi type of feel to this season. If they're going with a real vampire thing, maybe he ended up biting Pentagon Jr. Pentagon Jr. becomes a vampire, and then Pentagon Jr. creates an army of Pentagon Juniors, you know, transforms them all into vampires, and then he has his own vampire Pentagon Jr. army. I know that sounds really far-fetched, but I could picture them doing something like that, and if, you know, it'd be cool. It would, you know, and I could picture, you know, Pentagon Jr. somehow over the course of the season to, you know, taking over the temple with all of his army, you know, Pentagon army, whatever. I don't know what to call them. Vampire army, I guess. I don't know. I could picture something like that, and then by the end of the season, have another fight against Vampiro for power or something, you know, or Vampiro trying to stop him, you know, because he has gotten too powerful or something like that, you know. But I think we're going to see those two face off again, I have a feeling, because that was so massive at the end of the season, you know. I think that'd be cool. We'll see where it goes, you know. I don't know, that's like really out there as far as storylines, but whatever, you know. If you've got, you know, Drago and Aerostar leaving the temple at the end of last season, flying away, I mean, come on, then anything's possible, really. This is Lucha Underground here, you know, this isn't, I don't know, whatever. You know, you're going to have characters in here. Let's see. Rey Mysterio is another new name we've got. You know, and that's that's one of the biggest questions. Okay, he's part of this brand now. He's part of Lucha Underground. But how much are we really going to see him in the ring? Is he healthy enough? I think that's the biggest question on everyone's mind. It's great that he shows up and, he's part of this. Or maybe he's part of the background or backstage segments or whatever. That's great. But people want to see him in the ring. Is he going to be able to perform? I'd love to see him versus, maybe him versus Pentagon Jr. or Rey Mysterio versus, Drago. Any number of guys. They could tear down the house. Another face can't wait to see again is Prince Puma. Now in the trailer, he is shown fighting Pentagon Jr. You gotta wonder if that's gonna be, a big rivalry this coming season. I'd love to see that. Because Pentagon Jr. was doing a lot of just hurting not to call them jobbers. I mean, they were all talented guys in season 1, but most of the guys that he hurt were not significant names, except for like Sexy Star towards the end. That was like the biggest name I think that he tried to hurt. So yeah, Prince Puma, Pentagon Jr. That'd be kick-ass. I think we're gonna see Prince Puma, Johnny Mundo Part 2. Who else? The Trios Championships. Now they did an interview with Son of Havoc and Helico and Ivelisse, sorry. And I have no doubt that at some point during this season they're going to get their gold back. That's not a spoiler or nothing. That's just me, predicting. I think, and I don't know who they're going to win it from. Are they going to win it back from the Disciples of Death? Is that what they were called? I think so. The 3 guys aligned with Mil Muertes. It could be them. Could be someone else gets it from the Disciples of Death, and then towards the end of the season, they get it back. Havoc and Helico and Ivelisse. Now, one thing I noticed in the season 2 teaser, they show Angelico jumping off the rope and attacking someone from his team. I forget if it was Ivelisse or Son of Havoc, but he's kicking someone. And I don't know if it was him turning on them or what, but it's if you blink, you miss it. You gotta like slow it down and look at all these quick segments that they quick chop together. So who knows where that's gonna go. Well, one thing that Son of Havoc did say in that interview that they posted is that he wants to go for the Lucha Underground Championship. So, and he's so talented. I have absolutely no doubt that somewhere, either this season or maybe season 3, we're going to see Son of Havoc rise to the top. And his character from the beginning of last season has evolved so much, going from pretty much a joke when he used to come out with Ivelisse, and she would, humiliate him or put him down or whatever. He went from getting laughed at because of how he portrayed himself to this team coming together and being on every Lucha Underground highlight reel, pretty much. So, I think we're going to see Son of Havoc really rise to the top this season. Now, I know in AAA, back down in Mexico, Angelico and Jack Evans are a tag team. Could we see that possibly this season in Lucha Underground Season 2? Or maybe Jack Evans, and the Darewolf, PJ Black, form a trios team. Oh my God. Shut up and take my money on that one. That'd be incredible. Oh, jeez. And I could go, I don't know, I'm kind of long-winded on this one, but, and we could throw rivalries around for hours and hours talking about who we'd like to see. So that's just a few off the top of my head who I'd like to see. If I think of some over the course of this next week, we got a little over a week till Season 2 premiere next Wednesday. And I'll be doing a review on here. I'll start doing my reviews again. I know it was sporadic last year. It was just because of this, that, and the other thing. I didn't always get the videos out like I wanted to. It was, here and there. A good chunk of the second half of the first season I completely missed. But, hey, it is what it is. I'm going to do my best to do weekly reviews for this brand because I love it. It's one of my favorite brands. Next to NXT. And I'll also be doing reviews with my boys, the Ringside Ramblers, on the Ramblin' About Wrestling podcast. Dizzy, Bubba, Jordan, and Max. So I'll be on with those guys every week, talking about Lucha Underground, and hopefully I can get some of those guys to watch it with me, so it's not just me, rambling by myself. As much as I love to talk about it, it's great to actually have a conversation with these guys about it, So I'll be doing my best to promote it on there as well. And so yeah, can't wait till next week. Next Wednesday, the 27th, El Rey Network. I'll probably have a review within the next day or two after. I'll probably watch it once or twice just to soak it all in and see what they show us. The matches, storylines, characters, everything. So yeah, and put it in the comments below. Let me know what you think we're going to see for Season 2. Besides the obvious things that we saw in the trailer, what would you like to see? Some rivalries revisited from this last season, or some brand new ones? Yeah, put it in the comments below. Let me know what you think, or who you'd like to see for Season 2. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching.